Hello, and thank you for joining this webinar. This is the first webinar of our sustainability-focused webinar series, which is a series where we dive into the various aspects of sustainability in product development to give you practical insights, tools, and strategies to reduce carbon emissions, increase circularity of your products, and stay ahead of regulations. This series is structured in the way that we start out with the context and a broad perspective on the regulatory drivers to understand why sustainability is a critical perspective in your product development before I outline how products can be designed for sustainability and explore the various aspects in detail, such as how tools such as lifecycle assessments can inform the design process, how you can extend the lifetime of your products, and what to be aware of when you implement recycled plastics into your products. These topics and content that I go into are based on my experience within the field and what I find relevant to know about product sustainability. If you have a topic that you'd like to know more about, please reach out. I would love to know which topics you find relevant. Today, we start out with some background on the regulation that drives sustainability in products to help you navigate the sustainability regulation. A short introduction to me. My name is Mikkel Arntoft, and I'm an engineering consultant here at CREADIS. I'm specialized within product sustainability, which means that I bring my technical competencies into working with product sustainability in a practical way to develop products and processes that enable you to fulfill your sustainability strategies. During my education, I specialized within unfolding company sustainability strategies and implementing them in product development by turning them into actionable design guidelines. Here at CREADIS, I've been using this experience in different sustainability-focused projects, such as working with implementing recycled plastics in R&D, performing lifecycle assessments to measure the carbon footprint and also identifying improvement opportunities, and developing tools that can measure circularity as a parameter in the product development process. Product sustainability is a topic that I'm very passionate about, and I really enjoy the overlap where engineering meets sustainability, because this is where I feel like we can act on sustainability and use this technical approach to make a difference. But enough about me. In this webinar, I will guide you through the regulatory landscape that drives sustainability in product development. We'll start by looking at the broader context, the EU Green Deal, and the key regulations that are shaping the future of products, such as the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, the Eco-Design for Sustainable Products Regulation, and the Digital Product Passport. Then we'll zoom into what these regulations mean to you, not just in terms of compliance, but how they can be translated into actionable strategies for product design and development. Finally, we'll talk about how you can prepare your organization for what's coming and what's beyond compliance. But first, I'll give you a brief introduction to our approach to working with sustainability here at CREADIS. Sustainability is a broad topic that needs to be handled on multiple levels. At CREADIS, we approach sustainability holistically across the company, factory, production, and product levels. On the company level, we help clients translate their sustainability strategies into actionable projects to ensure that they align with the compliance frameworks like Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. On the factory level, we support the design of production facilities with digitalization and resource efficiency in mind, integrating sustainability into layout, processes, and data management. On the production level, we work with optimization of processes, reducing energy and material use, improving process efficiency, and enabling traceability through lifecycle data. And on the product level, we bring sustainability directly into the design process, whether it's through circularity or lifecycle assessments or implementing recycled materials into our products. But today, we'll focus on the top level, which are the regulatory drivers for your company, but always with a product sustainability lens, because ultimately it's at product level where sustainability becomes tangible and actionable. Let's take a look at the regulatory landscape on sustainability. It's really interesting because a lot is happening right now. In 2019, the EU launched the Green Deal, which is essentially the roadmap for becoming carbon neutral by 2050. This plan has triggered a wave of sustainability-related regulations, some of which you might already know, like the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, called the CSRD, for sustainability reporting, the REACH Directive for chemical safety, and the e-waste directive, for example. But what is especially relevant for product development is the Sustainable Products Initiative, which is transforming the old Eco-Design Directive into the Eco-Design for Sustainable Products Regulation. This regulation will introduce product-level requirements for durability, repairability, and circularity, and it will be supported by the Digital Product Passport, which will carry all the relevant sustainability data for each product. So while some regulations target companies at a strategic level, others, like the ESPR and Digital Product Passport, go straight to the product level, and that's where we as engineers and developers need to act. So now that you've seen the big picture, let's look at the timeline. As you can see, a lot of these regulations are already adopted, but many of them are still in the process of being implemented. For example, the CSRD is already in force for large companies, but the scope for smaller companies is still being debated. The ESPR entered into force in 2024, and the first working plan was adopted earlier this year. Over the next few years, we'll see delegated acts being rolled out for specific product categories. The digital product passport will follow closely, with the battery passport coming in 2027 and electronics expected shortly after. Each regulation applies to different types of companies depending on size, sector, and market activity. Some are mandatory for large companies, others will apply to specific product categories, and some are still being defined. But even if your company isn't directly affected by these regulations today, chances are that your customers are affected by these, and that means that you'll be impacted indirectly. For example, if you are a supplier to a larger company and they are subject to the reporting directive, they will need data from you to report on their Scope 3 emissions. Or if they are preparing for the eco-design for sustainability products regulation, they'll be looking for suppliers who can document circularity and environmental performance of the parts that you supply. Beyond the mandatory regulation from the EU, many companies are voluntarily committing to initiatives like the science-based targets, which push sustainability requirements further down the value chain. With that in mind, let's now dive into some of the specific directives, starting with the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, or CSRD for short. This directive is part of the EU's broader push for transparency and accountability in sustainability. Its main goal is to help stakeholders evaluate the environmental and social performance of companies. Companies that are affected by this will have to perform double materiality assessments of their company, report on Scope 1 to 3 emissions, and also report on the environmental, social, and governance aspects of their company. Scope 1 covers direct emissions from company-owned sources, like your company vehicles. Scope 2 includes indirect emissions from purchased energy, like electricity. And Scope 3 covers all other indirect emissions across the value chain, including suppliers and product use. One of the most relevant standards for product sustainability is the reporting standard E5, which focuses on resource use and circularity. This standard requires companies to report on how they manage material flows, including the inflows of raw materials, the outflows of waste, and the actions taken to reduce the environmental impact. It also asks companies to disclose their policies, targets, and performance indicators related to circularity, such as the use of recycled materials, product lifetime extension, and the design for reuse and repair. In practice, this means that companies must not only measure their product-related impacts, but also show how they are improving over time. For product developers, this creates a strong incentive to integrate circularity into design decisions. The CSRD originally also included small and medium enterprises, but this is delayed by an omnibus with a proposal to raise the company size and remove small and medium enterprises completely. While the CSRD applies directly to large companies, those with more than 250 employees or more than 40 million euros in turnover, it also has indirect effects across the value chain. If your customer is subject to the CSRD, they will need data from you to report on their Scope 3 emissions and their ESG performance. That means suppliers, manufacturers, and your partners will be asked to provide documentation on carbon footprint. That means that their suppliers, their manufacturers, and their partners will be asked to provide documentation on carbon footprint, material flows, and circularity. This creates a ripple effect where sustainability data becomes a competitive parameter for them and not just a compliance requirement. And it's not just about having the data. It needs to be auditable, traceable, and aligned with the ESG standards of your customer. So even if your company isn't directly in the scope for the CSRD, you may still need to prepare for these demands, especially if you want to remain a preferred supplier in a regulated market. Let's move on to the next regulatory driver for sustainable products, one that many of you might already be familiar with. It's the Waste, Electrical and Electronic Equipment Directive, or E-Waste Directive, and the principle of extended producer responsibility, or EPR for short. The E-Waste Directive was created to ensure separate collection and proper treatment of discarded electronics. It sets targets for collection, recovery, and recycling, and promotes this extended producer responsibility principle. which means that producers are responsible for their products throughout the entire life cycle. This means that you are responsible for the gap between your product becoming waste and recycled again. If you're selling electrical products, you need to register with national authorities or producer responsibility organizations. You need to finance the collection and recycling and disposal of your products. You need to report your product volumes and material composition of your products and provide information on any hazardous substances and disposal instructions that might be relevant. But complying with this regulation isn't just a cost, it can also create value. One example is through eco-modulations, where the fees for treating your products will be adjusted based on sustainability criteria under the Eco-Design Directive. That means products designed for recyclability with modular construction, safe materials, and clear labeling may benefit from lower fees. You can also reduce costs and environmental impact by optimizing the weight of your product and minimizing the packaging, by implementing take-back and reuse programs, and providing extended guarantees to support durability of your products. These actions not only help you comply with the e-waste directive and extended producer responsibility, they also prepare you for the upcoming frameworks like the Eco-Design Directive and the Digital Product Passport, where circularity and traceability will become key requirements. So let's take a look into the Eco-Design for Sustainable Products Regulation, or ESPR for short. This regulation is part of the EU's Sustainable Products Initiative and aims to make products more sustainable throughout their entire life cycle. It was previously focused on energy efficiency of selected product groups such as washing machines, but it's now being extended to include material efficiency and almost all product categories sold in the EU. The ESPR sets a framework for minimum performance requirements on products like durability, repairability, recyclability, and the environmental footprint. It also introduces the Digital Product Passport, which will carry key sustainability data for every product. The regulation entered into force in July 2024, and the first working plan was adopted in April 2025. Over the next few years, delegated acts will define specific requirements for priority product groups like energy-related products, steel, batteries, and textiles. This framework explains what product sustainability means in practice. It identifies product aspects that need improvement and the parameters that will be targeted. These aspects fall into three main areas: production and environment, reducing environmental impacts during manufacturing, for example, by using recycled content, minimizing hazardous substances, improving energy efficiency, and lowering the carbon footprint. Use and lifetime, improving durability, repairability, and upgradability, and the end of life, enabling recyclability of materials and reuse of parts. For each aspect, ESPR specifies product parameters, for example, physical durability measured by technical lifetime, mean time between failures, and resistance to stresses. The delegated acts will set minimum thresholds for these parameters, such as the minimum durability requirement for certain product categories. This framework is important because it shows where the focus will be. It's on durability, repairability of products, recyclability of materials, and transparency on substances. These are the areas where design decisions will make the biggest difference, and these are also the areas that will be included in the Digital Product Passport. Let's take a look at the types of requirements the Eco-Design Directive might introduce. There are two main categories: performance requirements. These are measurable criteria such as minimum durability thresholds, minimum recycled content, restrictions on substances that prevent circularity, and then there are also information requirements. And these focus on the transparency and documentation, including repair instructions and manuals, recycling information, environmental footprint data, disclosure of substances of concern, and of course, the Digital Product Passport will become mandatory for most products. Some requirements will apply horizontally across all product categories, like general rules on durability, repairability, and recyclability. Others will be more specific to certain products, for example, drop resistance for smartphones or recyclability standards for textiles. This means compliance isn't just about meeting technical specifications. It's about integrating sustainability into your design process and preparing to collect and share detailed product data. This data is handled in the Digital Product Passport. The Digital Product Passport is one of the most significant changes coming with the Eco-Design Directive. Its purpose is to enable transparency and traceability across the entire value chain. It will store essential product information in a standardized digital format, making it accessible to manufacturers, suppliers, regulators, and even customers. The goal is to support the circular economy by providing the right information to the right actors in the life cycle and improve reuse, repair, remanufacturing, and recycling of your product. The requirements of the digital product passport are not yet definitive, but they might include information related to the performance requirements we just discussed. In the figure, I've tried to give an overview of the types of data that might be included, such as generic product information that we, for example, know from user manuals, information on the company and production, technical specifications on the performance, material composition, environmental performance such as the carbon footprint or energy efficiency, how to recycle your product at the end of life, declarations of compliance, any usage information such as guides for maintaining your product, and also the product history, like, for example, the service book of your car. So the digital product passport will become a central hub for sustainability data, enabling this transparency and traceability across the entire value chain. The digital product passport presents a lot of opportunities for a business as well. It will make sustainability performance visible and comparable, which means companies that lead on circularity and transparency can gain a competitive edge. And as it supports circularity, it will enable circular business models. You can prepare for the digital product passport by improving your performance on the eco-design performance requirements, integrate documentation and reporting into product development, which also includes engaging your supply chain. Finally, let's look into how the digital product passport can support the ESPR requirements. For example, if the ESPR requires recycled content, you can start sourcing and implementing recycled materials in your products and communicate this to your customers. The digital product passport will document the type, the amount, and also the origin of that material. For repairability, you can design products for disassembly and modularity and provide repair manuals and spare parts. The digital product passport in this case can store the repair manuals and also spare part IDs to help anyone trying to repair your product. For reuse and remanufacturing, you can design products so components can be extracted and reused, and integrate parts harvesting processes in your production to enable second life options through, for example, take-back programs. The passport can track component age, condition, and also compatibility to support these remanufacturing decisions. For any substances of high concern in your product, you can map out materials, and you can substitute hazardous substances to prepare for compliance. The passport can be used to document material origin and compliance and track substances throughout the entire supply chain. And to get to know your water and resource efficiency, perform these hotspot analysis and redesign products and processes to minimize this resource use. This can be documented inside the digital product passport. So the passport is not just about reporting, it's also a tool that supports the circular business models that help you demonstrate the compliance and performance. So far, we have focused on what's coming in terms of regulation and how tools like the digital product passport can help you meet those requirements. But compliance is only the starting point. These regulations are not just constraints, they can also be drivers of innovation and give you a competitive advantage. In the next section, we'll look into what it means to go beyond compliance, as in how sustainability can move from being a legal obligation to becoming a strategic lever for value creation. The first question we can ask is, what is your motivation for sustainability? Is it just compliance? Is it something that you are expected to do? Is it something that is convenient to do? Or is it about creating additional value? This model shows different levels of sustainability maturity. At the lowest level, companies act because they have to. It's about compliance, about the license to operate. They have to because that's how they can sell their products. The main drivers at this level are external, like regulation and customer needs, that is pushing and pulling them to a certain level of working with sustainability. The next level is value protection. Companies on this level are doing what their customers are expecting them to do. It's still a reactive approach. It's responding to the competition and also the direct demand they have from the customers. Then comes the next level, which is about efficiency, using sustainability to optimize processes and also cut costs. The motivation is internal to the company. It's about doing what is smart to do. It's about bringing additional value from increased efficiency measures such as energy reduction. And higher up companies accelerate their value by integrating sustainability into strategy and innovation to become leaders within sustainability in the industry. At the top, sustainability becomes part of the company's purpose, creating value for society and the environment beyond economics. The first place to start is to find out where you are in terms of sustainability and where you want to go. Where do you see a company today, and where do you want to go? A way to identify where a company is to look at who owns sustainability operations inside your company. At the lowest levels of maturity, sustainability is often handled by legal or quality departments focusing on compliance and risk reduction. As companies move up the maturity curve, they appoint dedicated sustainability roles, specialists or managers who coordinate initiatives and reporting. At higher levels, sustainability becomes a strategic responsibility, often led by executives such as a chief sustainability officer, and integrated into the business planning of your company. At the top level, sustainability is embedded in the culture of your company. It's not just one person's job. Everyone, from product development to procurement, shares responsibility for environmental performance of your company. This shift is critical because sustainability decisions happen everywhere, in design choices, material selection, supplier engagement, and even customer communication. So you can begin by asking yourself, where does sustainability sit in your organization today? And where should it sit to unlock its full potential? The economic opportunities also change with maturity. At the compliance level, it's about preserving operations and avoiding penalties. At the efficiency level, it's about cost reduction because saving energy and saving materials increases profit margin. At higher levels, it's about creating value from circular business models, offering repair services, take-back programs, and using recycled materials to increase revenue. At the very top, it's about brand leadership and long-term viability. These economical opportunities show that moving beyond compliance isn't just good for the planet, it could also benefit your business. Your next steps depend on where your company is today on the sustainability maturity curve. At the beginning, focus on compliance, understand which regulations apply to your products, and perform a gap analysis. Look to your customer segment and competitors to identify what might be expected from you. Start with small, low-risk changes, for example, introducing recycled materials in existing designs, or improving energy efficiency in production. In the middle, your next steps could be moving beyond compliance by looking for efficiency gains, reduce material use, optimize energy consumption, and cut waste. Begin integrating circular principles into product design, such as modularity and repairability, and explore collaborations with suppliers to improve the transparency and also share sustainability data for your products. At the high levels, your next steps could include setting long-term sustainability goals aligned with frameworks like the science-based targets, developing new business models such as take-back programs, product as a service, or remanufacturing, and also investing in tools and processes for lifecycle data collection and reporting, including preparing for the digital product passport. The key is to start where you are, take incremental steps, and build capabilities over time. Sustainability is a journey, and every step you take now makes future compliance easier and creates strategic value. Finishing off, I've prepared a short list of questions to get you started preparing for your future compliance. These questions are meant to guide your thinking and identify where you might need to take action. So you can ask yourself, do we know which regulations apply to our products? Have we assessed the gap between current practices and upcoming requirements? Do we have sustainability targets for our products and processes? Are we collecting the data needed for the digital product passport? How engaged is our supply chain in providing transparency and compliance data? And are our teams aware of these changes and ready to act? These questions are a great starting point for building a roadmap towards compliance and beyond. This is the end of this webinar on navigating the sustainability regulation. Thank you for attending. I hope it has provided you with an overview of some of the regulatory drivers for product sustainability and input to your next steps for moving beyond compliance. If you have any questions, please reach out to me on the CREADIS website, and remember to sign up for more webinars on product sustainability. We are here to support you in your transition towards a more sustainable future.